Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and little ones. I especially thank Sairam and Lakshmi for having me here at Parent Choice. It gives me immense pleasure to spend just a few minutes with you because I was a mother once that went through terrible guilt pangs because I started a business 13 years ago. The only hurdle to my business was a 2-year-old daughter that I had that was full of beans and, needless to say, a genius in the making. I had nowhere to go to carve that genius. If I'd had parent choice, I would certainly have chosen it. And yes, you can applaud that because I thoroughly appreciate the wonderful work that Parent Choice is doing. I went firsthand myself to take a look at the school and at the facilities, and I saw all your children, and you were not there. I went on a weekday when all of you were at work, and your children were in the school last week, and I saw them happily sitting. One was watching a Barney show, somebody else was on a little computer, somebody else was being looked after by, I guess, their surrogate mother while you're away at work. And the cleanliness, the nurturing environment was super impressive. But I did not have parent choice. So what did I do? I ran a business to help foreigners to settle down in India. Global Adjustments helps, companies like BMW or Ford or Sony Ericsson to come into our country, and the families are helped to find the right home, the right school, the right atmosphere to live in, and then we do cultural training to help them understand India. In that process, our company also had started to help find nannies. And one of the things we did was to find a nanny to look after the children while the parents were at work. So I tried 13 years ago when I started the business to find a nanny to look after my 2-year-old. Because no school in Chennai gave the nurturing environment that we really need for bringing out that emotional and intellectual development that we want for our children. When I interviewed the nanny, it turned out that she interviewed me instead. So she said, I don't like to work in an Indian home. I've come here to get a job with an expat. I want to work only for foreigners. And I found myself guiltily saying, I'll be really good to you, I'll look after you, please come and look after my child. So I ended up with an Anglo-Indian nanny, Rosalind, and to me she was Mary Poppins in the making because she could sing nursery rhymes, she could read Grimm's fairy tales and Hans Christian Andersen, and I thought, great, my child will be well looked after and I don't have to have the guilt of being a working mom. So Rosalind came into our lives and homes, difficult. I'm a Brahmin, Iyer family, joint family person. Everybody else was very different in the home and they were very traditional. In walks Rosalind, a la Mary Poppins, and it was quite tough because the adjustment was difficult for her as well as for the rest of our family. She wore a little frock, she ate with a fork and knife. You can imagine in my home where we are all vegetarians and eat, with the way we do in Indian homes. But I was very keen that Rosalind nurture my little daughter Rohini. Rohini resented it internally. Unlike your children, I saw your children's happy faces in Parent Choice. And I see that little Ryan, who wants the chapatis, the next day that he's well wants to run back to school because he wants to be with his mom in Parent Choice. But my daughter resisted Rosalind. So the Rosalind saga ends with my little daughter Rohini going to school and Rosalind dropping her off in the morning and in the evening trying to go to bring her back from school. Now, Ro refused to recognize Rosalind that afternoon. And the teacher is not allowed to hand over a baby to a nanny unless she recognizes her. But the child had worked out a system that she was not going to recognize this person just to be mean. Children can be mean, So she looked at her and looked blankly, and they did not allow Rosalind to walk away with the child. Rosalind was super insulted, came rushing, huffing and panting back into my office and said, "You have an evil child, I'm not going to look after her." And that was the end of my nanny business. I then found a sort of makeshift preschool. I don't think it was an early learning center that all of you have the privilege of enjoying. And then I managed stumbling into other kinds of education. I just want to wish Parent Choice the very best for this first year that they have completed. It's a great milestone. And I would like to just leave you with one thought, which I read in a book which many of you may have read. And if you haven't, I encourage you to read it. It's called Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. And he has a beautiful line there where he says, teachers affect eternity. There is no knowing where their influence ends. And you as teachers, you certainly will affect eternity of many of these children who will take this back home in the first 5 years at Parent Choice. Thank you very much and good luck.